I'm old enough that the first games I played as a child were on the Super Nintendo. But it wasn't until the PlayStation 1 that I had the first console that I could call my own. The PlayStation 1 marked the dawn of the 3D era of gaming, and it felt like such a huge leap forward in what games could look like. Final Fantasy VII, Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid, and Tomb Raider were graphical marvels at the time. But now, graphics have evolved far beyond the distorted, jagged, blocky characters of 1997. In the indie scene, retro graphics have always been a pretty big thing, and for a long while, most games have been emulating the timeless pixel art games of the early 90s. However, once again, time has moved in a full circle, and more of these games are now paying homage to the early 3D era of video games. Crow Country, a game by indie dev SFB, is one of these, and the trailer and pictures I saw before release immediately filled me with nostalgia. With its blocky character models moving across pre-rendered detailed backgrounds, it was reminiscent of the games I loved from my youth, but with some modern gaming improvements, one of which being a shiny Platinum Trophy. So let's take a look and see what it takes to earn the Platinum Trophy in Crow Country. As I've already made pretty clear, Crow Country takes a lot of graphical inspiration from the PlayStation 1 era. This works really well for the game though. The static backgrounds are detailed and full of things to interact, contrasting sharply with the blocky and less detailed character models. There's an almost CRT-like grain over the whole thing, that when combined with its clever use of lighting, ensures the visuals offer so much atmosphere. Unlike most PlayStation 1 horror games though, the camera is not fixed, one of the many modern conveniences Crow Country wisely chose to stick to. Despite being able to move the camera though, its position mimics titles like Resident Evil, offering an almost isometric view of your surroundings, and this does a great job of strategically keeping just enough of the path ahead of you out of sight, encouraging caution because you never know what monster or trap is hiding around the next corner. Usually, the things that are hiding around the corners are Crow Country's monstrous enemies, aptly known as guests. These warped creatures are surprisingly grotesque and horrifying, despite the graphical limitations. The way that they all shamble towards you, some fast, others slow, but persistent, and all twisted and malformed. Mostly, you can choose to just run from and around most of these monsters without too much difficulty, but the further you go through the game, the more the park fills up with a variety of new guests, and it makes it hard to weave through them when the areas start to get quite crowded. On top of the monsters, the game also adds traps to your path, often in quite high numbers. Bear traps, poison traps, and chandeliers that will fall on top of you if you're not careful, among many others. Most of these can be dealt with from a single bullet from your handgun, but if you have a corridor full of gruesome creatures and traps littering your only escape route, it can lead to some tense moments, dodging and weaving your way through the park, trying not to get hit. And you'll be spending a lot of time dodging and weaving through the park, which is a good thing that it's so well designed and fun to explore. Crow Country is a theme park that has been shut for a long time now, and the abandoned areas of the park are full of puzzles to solve and key items to pick up. Like the best survival horror games, your exploration of the park is halted at every turn by oddly specific items that you will need to find. Keys of different metals to unlock different doors, or items unable to be accessed until you have found an item on the opposite side of the park. I'm a big fan of puzzles, and although the ones in Crow Country aren't too difficult, they are fun to figure out. Only one puzzle in the game stumped me for more than a few minutes, and that was because I was so focused on reading the text that was coming up on screen, looking for clues in the words or the letters being used, that I completely missed the solution appearing on the TV screen in front of me. There's a part of the game where Mara tells one of the characters that she solved his stupid puzzle, and he retorts, "Be honest, you loved it." And honestly, same, yeah, you got me. The game is also full of things to read, bits of story and world building that you need to understand the guests and what has happened to the theme park and its enigmatic owner, Edward Crow. These notes also contain hints and solutions to puzzles too, hints to where a key item to get into a room might have been stashed or the code to a keypad you need. There are so many of these that I ended up having to make notes on the clues and codes that I found, as there is no way to reread them from your menu or anything as you're exploring. The only way to see them again is to either go back to the original note, or in some of the game's few safe rooms, there are a book that has all your collected notes inside. The story is pretty good too. It's not something that made me think and analyse for hours after, the way Signalis did, but the narrative was good enough to keep me curious and interested about what was going on, and where the guests had come from. There are also a handful of side characters that Mara can find and interact with as you explore, and coming across these was always a nice little break from the exploration to just sit and talk for a while. Crow Country is a classic survival horror in a lot of ways, but its puzzles are not the only thing that lean towards the easier side of things. Like most survival horrors, you are limited on resources, only able to find and carry so much ammo and healing items. Unlike some horror games though, you are able to carry all of your key items at once, but there is still a limit on how many consumables you can carry, and although there are safe rooms, there are no item boxes to store things in for later. This was rarely a problem though. I played my first run in the game on normal difficulty and didn't come close to running out of ammo because I rarely had to kill anything. Most of the healing I had to do was because I wasn't paying attention and got poisoned by running into traps, or losing half my health because I walked under a stupid chandelier. Only one monster managed to kill me, and that was because I didn't realise how little health I had after being poisoned. This isn't a negative thing at all, the game still manages to feel atmospheric, and it does have a few jump scares, but it did give the game a much more cosy horror vibe than I expected when I went into it. Much like the rest of the game, the trophy list is quite simple too, and getting the Platinum Trophy, which is boringly just called Platinum, is a breeze. Hidden around Crow Country theme park are 15 secrets, and the bulk of the trophy comes from ferreting these out as you explore. Most of them are hidden behind puzzles or knowing what items use where, and these secrets actually include a lot of the other things you need for trophies, such as the Magnum and the flamethrower weapons that you need to collect, as well as finding the little mushroom boys that grant wishes. These wishes upgrade your weapon and unlock a different trophy at the same time. Some of the other things you'll need to find, which are secrets as well, are the shotgun, the medkit upgrade, running shoes, and of course the map that shows you where all of the secrets are. If you are not following a guide, then it's best to keep notes on the clues you pick up, as many of these are hints to finding the secrets instead of hints to progressing the game. The only other two trophies to look out for are Looking Out for a Friend, which involves you helping the first person you find in the park very early on in the game. If you return to your car after helping them and exhaust their dialogue, you'll get the trophy. The other is Quizmaster, in which you need to get 5 points on Mermaid's Quiz, a game in the arcade part of the park. This isn't particularly tricky to manage, but you do need to be aware of one thing that caught me out at first. Crow Country is actually set in 1990, and the arcade machine's questions reflect this, so don't forget that. The last of the trophies come from the rank you earn when you finish the game. Not only does each rank have its own trophy, it also provides you with an unlockable for your next run. The ranks are B, A, and S, and the requirements for these are not too difficult. To get an S rank, you need to make sure you play the game on survival difficulty, which is normal, essentially. Make sure you have turned off extra lives in the settings so you can only use one life. You also need to find at least 14 out of the 15 secrets, and heal less than 8 times. I don't think this would be too difficult to do in one playthrough, but I wanted to play through the game without a guide first anyway. I still managed to find all the secrets on my first playthrough thanks to the map, but because I got poisoned so much, and I just forgot about all of the chandeliers, I ended up using 34 heals. This still managed to get me the A rank trophy though, so it shows how lenient the scoring is. Getting A rank gives you the crowbar, and a crow launcher, which is like an infinite rocket launcher that fires little crow heads that explode. It's very cute, and will help on your second run so much. Getting the platinum in Crow Country only actually took me about 5 hours, and the second playthrough, knowing where everything was and having my notes from the first run, made things go so much quicker so I could breeze through the game in about an hour. Crow Country is a comfy survival horror game. It's a game that has done an incredible job wrapping itself up in an image of nostalgia, while avoiding some of the clunkier and frustrating parts that many older games had when they were first released. It's not the scariest game by a mile, but it is atmospheric, and at moments it can be quite tense. It's a nice homage to the era it's emulating, and the studio did a great job making it look and feel so visually interesting within the limitations it set itself. It is definitely something I would recommend if you enjoy survival horror games, even if it is on the easier side. It's like wrapping yourself in a survival horror blanket. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it's given you a good idea of what awaits you in Crow Country. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing and leave a comment below about your thoughts on the game or others in the genre, and until next time, happy hunting.